Hello, I'm Teresa Crabtree, and I'm the creator of the SoulCleanse, which is a powerful method of releasing non beneficial energies and dark force entities. And welcome to Demonology, a biblical perspective. This is part 4. If you haven't watched part 1 through 3, I would highly suggest that you do that. And also, I suggest if you haven't already, to go ahead and download this document. It has all of the scriptures that are going to be in all of the videos in this series. And you can do that by either going to my website, and down at the bottom, you'll see a blue box. And in that box, there's a link that says Demonology. You can click on that, and it'll take you directly to the Bible studies page where you can download it. And there you'll also see all the other videos and documents that I've been creating. And if you're on YouTube, you can just go down in the description and click on the button, and it'll also take you to the biblical studies page there. So let's get started. I'm just going to do a quick recap of what we've done in the previous videos. So the first thing we did, we went through the introduction to all the different terms in the Bible that we're actually going to use. And first I did the Old Testament. The Old Testament was written in Hebrew and Aramaic. So these are all the different terms that we talked about in video 1. And there's some new ones. If you only have the original downloaded document there, I added a whole new section called Afterlife for the Wicked. And so there's a lot of new terms in there. So in the Old Testament, we have the new term that's here, the pit. And then down here, the New Testament was written in Greek, all the Greek definitions. I added some new things to Abaddon. We mentioned it before, but I found some other things. This keeps expanding. I keep finding new stuff, which is pretty interesting and exciting. And then I also added new terms, Gehenna and Hades and Lake of Fire and Tartarus. And then on the third part, we started getting into the Old Testament scriptures, and we studied the angelic rebellion against God. This is the time when the angels rebelled and were kicked out of heaven. This is where all of the darkness started. And in that one, we studied Isaiah 14:12, this verse here. But we're going to be looking at that again today, but from a whole different perspective. And then in part 3, we also studied the human rebellion against God. So that was going back to the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. And that's where we first meet a dark demon in the shape of a serpent in that case. Now, as I began this study, once I finished the original document the first time, I just went into prayer and I said, help me to know or see any terms or anything that I missed that is important to add to this collection. And immediately I heard the word Lucifer. And I thought, oh, Lucifer, how could I have missed that one? When I was going through all these different Bible studies, I never came across the name Lucifer. And I'm like, where's he at? How did I miss this one? So that's what we're going to be looking at today. I'm going to share with you what I found, and it totally surprised me. I had no idea. I've known this term Lucifer. I came from a Catholic background, and I probably first heard it there. So anyway, so let's go ahead and get started with that. So the Old Testament, again, was originally written in Hebrew and Aramaic, and then it was translated into other languages. Now, when you translate from one language to another, there's bound to be some misinterpretations, especially with idioms and when you're using symbology and cultural changes through the years. And then going from one translation to another, to their language, and then another language, it can get very muddied. So a lot of times some of the discrepancies that we see in the Bible are due to translations, different translations. And usually of course, there's some that were purposely changed through the years, but we're not dealing with that. All right, so anyway, again, we're going back to that Isaiah 14:12 that we looked at in part 3. And I'm going to read it for you. It says, how you have fallen from heaven, O shining star, son of the dawn. And I put that in red there to point that out. So keep that in mind. O shining star, son of the dawn. You've been cut down to the ground, O destroyer of nations. You said in your heart, I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit on the mount of the assembly in the far reaches of the north. I will ascend above the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. But you will be brought down to Sheol, to the far reaches of the pit. So in this verse, the prophet Isaiah is condemning the king of Babylon for his pride, and because he's placing himself in a position of God. He's also being warned that his empire is about to fall. And his fall in this verse is being compared to an angelic being who was thrown out of heaven. And many believe this is referring to Satan. And from this passage has come the belief that Satan's name before his fall was Lucifer. The phrase under consideration in Hebrew is Hillel ben Shakar, and translated here as, O shining star, son of the dawn. The Hebrew root words of this phrase translate into English as follows. Hillel means to shine or to boast. Ben means sun, and Shakar means dawn, daybreak, or the morning. So a reasonable translation could be shining son of the dawn or shining son of the morning. The verse begins with, how you have fallen from heaven. Thus, it can be interpreted that the shining sun of the dawn is a metaphor for a heavenly object. The most common celestial shining object each dawn is the sun. But instead, since the time of the ancient Hebrews, Venus is regarded in reference to this passage, even though it brings light to the morning only at certain times of the year. Now, some propose that the phrase Hillel ben Shakar is using the symbology of a Canaanite myth. And in the myth, Hillel, who is Venus, rebelled against the supreme god, El, and was cast down to rule the underworld. Now, when we reread Isaiah 12:15, it fits perfectly with Isaiah's message to the king. How you have fallen, Hillel, son of the dawn. You said in your heart, I will make myself like the Most High, but you will be brought down to Sheol. So it follows the same pattern as that Canaanite myth. And the root word Hillel, which means to shine, is referring to a shining star at dawn, Shakar. What star shines at dawn is Venus. Of course, this was before they knew that Venus was a planet. And Hillel was the ancient name for Venus. In ancient Hebrew texts, such as Judges 5 and in Job 38, we discover that the word star is used as a metaphor for angels. And in Isaiah 14, a heavenly being has been brought down to Sheol. But Venus has never fallen from the sky. Thus, Venus, the fallen star, is a metaphor for a fallen angel. So this helps to explain why so many English versions translate Hillel ben Shakar as a shining star instead of a shining sun, ben meaning sun. So many believe that this fallen angel is Satan, and from this verse in Isaiah 14:12 comes the belief that Satan's name before his fall was Lucifer. All right, well, how did Hillel ben Shakar evolve into Lucifer? I don't see the word Lucifer there, and that's what had me confused. So I had to dig deeper, and here's what I found. You can blame it on the Catholics. In 380 AD, Jerome of Stridon was commissioned by Pope Damascus I to revise the Vetus Latina Gospels, which was the Latin translation of the Bible used by the Roman Church at that time. So Jerome used the original Hebrew and Aramaic texts, ancient Greek manuscripts, and the existing Latin translations to make his translation. And his revised version is called the Vulgate, and that was published in 405 AD. And in that, Jerome translated Hillel as morning star, which is the traditional Hebrew meaning for this verse. Jerome used the Latin words luz, which means light, and vere, which means to bring, light bringer. So why? Because Venus, Hillel, the morning star, brings light after the dark of the night. So Jerome's translation of Hillel ben Shakar, shining son of the dawn, becomes Lucifer qui mane, which translates into English as light bringer, who in the morning. When the Vulgate was published in 405 AD, Lucifer was not capitalized. It was not considered to be a proper noun for about 1,000 years. And then along comes John Wycliffe in 1382. He was a Catholic priest and he completed the first full English translation of the Bible from the Latin Vulgate. He didn't use the original Hebrew. In doing so, he also didn't translate the original Hebrew word Hallel into morning star or the original meaning of it to shine or to boast. Instead, he adopted the Latin word that Jerome used, Lucifer. Now, that was used in the Vulgate. Now, it appears that the Wycliffe Bible might have been the place where Lucifer was birthed as a proper name, because there it's capitalized. It says, A Lucifer that risedest early. Well, that's how he translated it in English. And it stuck. And in 1611, the popular King James Version came out, and it also adopted the Latin term Lucifer as a proper name. It says, "Oh," that's translated as "O Lucifer, son of the morning." And this is why I didn't find it, because I wasn't using, when I was doing my research, I wasn't using the King James Version. I was using other versions. So I didn't see it. I was using a version that comes directly from the Hebrew. So I didn't see the Lucifer part. So it was around this time that the name Lucifer became more widespread, referring to the name of Satan. And it was referred to him before his fall because it means light. So that's saying that Lucifer was a light being, a beautiful light being, and then his name became Satan later. And Satan means to oppose. Satan would refer to the opposite of going from an angel of light, of luz, to an angel of darkness. In Ezekiel 28:15, it says, when wickedness was found in you. He was a beautiful being of light, it says, until wickedness was found in you. So that's the switch there. So I decided to check out a lot of the current top English selling Bibles to see how they dealt with this verse. And I found it interesting that about half of them use the word dawn and about the other half uses morning, which is okay. Those are both correct usages. And in the English Standard Version, I went to the Catholic edition because I thought it would be interesting to see how they dealt with it, since it's the Catholic Bibles where the term Lucifer became first used as a proper name. And I noticed it says, "O day star, son of dawn." So they're not using the Lucifer anymore, but look at them; they're all capitalized like they're a proper name. So I thought that was interesting, and none of the other ones do that. On the Christian Standard Bible, it says shining morning star, which is nice, but it does omit sun. Remember, it's Hallel, Ben, Shakar, and Ben means sun. So they got the Hallel and the Shakar in there, but they omitted the sun. They omitted the sun. Sorry, I see a little pun there. New American Standard Bible says, "You star of the morning, son of the dawn." So that's pretty. They hit all the main points. In the New International Reader's Version, it says the bright morning star. So once again, this one omits the word sun. And the NIV has morning star, son of the dawn. You got it. And the New Living Translation has, "O shining star, son of the morning." And to me, that's the winner because it has not only star, it adds, instead of morning star, it has shining star, which is Hallel, means to shine. And then it has sun, Ben, and Shakar of the morning. So it's probably the best translation. Now, I did a little bit of research, not much, but to look to see if the name Lucifer showed up in the apocryphal books. And those are religious texts that are not in the Bible. They still have historical value. Some of them are true and we know who wrote them, and some of them we don't. But I didn't see any there. Again, I didn't do a lot of research on that, but I didn't see Lucifer show up anywhere else except in the books that we've mentioned. And so that's how Lucifer erroneously became the name of Satan before he got kicked out of heaven. Now, on a side note, as mentioned previously, the original Hebrew word for Hallel also means to boast. And excessive pride and boasting is what got Satan and a third of the angels kicked out of heaven in the first place. So that term also fits. I thought that was interesting. And there's another point of interest to consider before we leave this topic. I found a few other Bible verses that use the term morning star. And in 2 Peter 1:19, he says, "We also have the prophetic message as something completely reliable, and you will do well to pay attention to it as to a light shining in a dark place until the day dawns and the morning star rises in your hearts. Now, the Greek word translated in this verse as morning star is different. It's phosphorus, which is derived from phos, meaning light, and pharo, meaning to bring or to carry. In ancient Greek culture, the term phosphorus was often associated with the planet Venus. Here we go, where it appeared in as the morning star. So in 2 Peter, it is commonly believed that the morning star is referring to Jesus when you look at the whole context of what he wrote. And this aligns with the early Christian understanding of light as a symbol of divine truth. Thus, accordingly, they associate Jesus as a light bringer, bringing spiritual light. So I thought that was interesting. And then in Revelation 2:26, it says, Jesus makes the promise to the one who is victorious and does my will to the end. I will give authority over the nations. Just as I have received authority from my Father, I will also give one the morning star. So what do you mean? Is he going to give us Venus? No. He reveals what he's talking about later in the same book in Revelation 22:16. He identifies himself as the morning star. Thus, he's promising eternal life with him to those who stay loyal to the end. And in 22, he says, I, Jesus, have sent my angel to give you this testimony for the churches. I am the root and offspring of David and the bright morning star. So in these two verses, the phrase in the original Greek reads as ho aster lo lampros ho proinos, thus translated into English as the aster, star, the lampros, bright, the proinos, morning, bright morning star. So it's interesting that Lucifer, Satan, is called the morning star, and here in these two verses Jesus identifies himself as the morning star. Now, one thing that I noticed as I studied this Bible more and more, wherever Jesus or God makes a point in the Bible, in the Old Testament or the New Testament, but it really has come to light with me being in these new age thoughts for the last 20, 30 years, because I can see now where Satan has twisted. He takes one little thing and just twists it around just a little bit to make it false and to pull us away from God, to pull us more into ourselves being God or godlike, and to other religions, not even religions, it's the other beliefs and theories that have been coming out for decades and stuff, some even longer than decades. So I thought it was interesting to see the difference there where Jesus calls himself the bright morning star, and now there's this also this opposite of Satan being a morning star. So Isaiah 18 gives us this opposing view. He says, when someone tells you to consult mediums and spiritists who whisper and mutter, should not a people inquire of their God? Why consult the dead on behalf of the living? Consult God's instruction and the testimony of warning. If anyone does not speak according to this word, they have no light of dawn. So in other words, he's saying pretty much what I've been learning is it's either coming from God, leading us to God, reliance on God, love for God, or a love for the creator or something that's been created, whether it's a thought, a theory, a person, and such. So I thought that was interesting. So that's going to conclude for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something of value here. Again, I hope that you download the document and do your own studies. And as I say, I'm just learning all this myself and just finding it fascinating. And subscribe, like, and comment below if you're watching this on YouTube. Share the video with others and share the document with others as well. And I hope that you come back. Likely we'll be doing, starting with Satan and the term Satan in the Old Testament for the next video. Everything's subject to change. Like I said, this just keeps expanding, and just kind of, some of this is pretty mind-blowing. So join us again, and I just send you blessings and wish you to have a rest of your days good, rest of your life. All right, bye-bye.